Hi everyone, today we will be looking at DHCP, which is Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. DHCP is used to automatically configure IP addresses on hosts. It is based on a client-server model, where all hosts act as clients, but we do have a minimum of one DHCP server per domain. However, there is no limit on the number of DHCP servers or DHCP relays that we can have. DHCP is useful because it enables the network administrator to configure details such as IP address and default gateway, subnet mask, DNS server, and lease time only on the server. On the client side, he only has to enable DHCP auto configuration. DHCP can be used both for IPv4 and IPv6. It should be noted that DHCP uses UDP as its transport protocol. Port 67 is used by the DHCP server, whereas port 68 is used by the DHCP client. And it should also be noted that DHCP lease is temporary, that is, it will have to be renewed after a certain amount of time. Normally this is 24 hours, but it can be as few as a few minutes to as long as a year. So in this picture is simple Office DHCP example where the router gives wireless connection to laptop and wired connection to workstations and Office servers. The IP address configurations are all done through DHCP. In this scenario, the Office router is also acting as a DHCP server. The DHCP auto configuration occurs through the DORA process. DORA is standing for Discovery, Offer, Request, and Acknowledge. So when a new DHCP client connects to the Office network, the first thing it will do is send a discover packet to the broadcast address 255.255.255.255. The first DHCP server that gets this discover packet will reply the client with an offer packet with details of who is the DHCP server. The client will then send a request packet asking for an IP address. Once the DHCP server gets the request packet, it will send an acknowledge packet back to the DHCP client. We will now have a closer look at the DORA process in DHCP by capturing packets in Wireshark. So to do that, because this is a laptop, I will enable the packet capture on the wireless LAN adapter by selecting Wi-Fi here. First, I will check the current DHCP settings on the adapter by doing ipconfig/all. As you can see, I have an IPv4 address which is 192.168.1.121, the segment mask, the default gateway, the DHCP server, and the DNS server. To remove or flush the current DHCP configuration, we simply do ipconfig/release, and we can check what this has done by doing ipconfig/all. As you can see, we don't have any IPv4 address at the moment because it has been flushed. To get new IPv4 configurations, we just type ipconfig/renew. We need to give it a few seconds for the DORA process to occur in the background. Normally it's like 10 to 15 seconds. Right, now it has finished. It's telling us the IPv4 address, the default gateway, and the subnet mask. Nonetheless, we can check it by doing ipconfig/all wireless LAN adapter, and once again we have an IPv4 address 192.168.1.21, the segment mask, when the lease was obtained, when it expires, the default gateway, the DHCP server, and the DNS server. Now, if I do an ipconfig/renew on its own without doing a release beforehand, this will only change when the lease expires. So we take note that the current DHCP lease expires on the 22nd of September at 9:08:15 p.m. and we do a renew, give it a few seconds. The lease should now expire at a later time. ipconfig all. So now the lease expires on the 22nd of September at 9:09:33 p.m. So this is the main difference between ipconfig release and ipconfig renew, or typing in ipconfig renew by itself. We can now stop the packet capture. On older versions of Wireshark, we had to type in bootTP to get all the DHCP packets. However, on newer versions of Wireshark, we can straight away type in DHCP and we get everything. So as you can see, we have the DHCP release packet, the discover packet, the offer packet, the request packet, and the acknowledge packet. If we take a closer look at the packets, as you can see, it is user datacom protocol, which is UDP. The source port is 68. So source port, the source address being 1.21, which is a laptop, which means DHCP port on client is 68. Destination port 67, which is on the server, is 67, which is what we learned beforehand, that DHCP port for client is 68, DHCP port for server is 67. Taking a closer look at the DHCP message itself, as you can see, when we do the release, we have the client IP and the client MAC address, whereas in the discover, we don't have any IP for the client, we only have the MAC address. The offer, that is when the server is offering DHCP lease to the client, we do have the client IP address, whereas in the request we don't have it, but in the acknowledge we do have it. When we do only the DHCP renew without the release, however, we do have the client IP address because we haven't removed the DHCP configuration. Now we can have another look at the DORA process by doing statistics flow graph, and we choose limit to display filter so that it displays only the DHCP messages. As you can see, 192.168.1.21, when we type the DHCP release command, it sends the DHCP release message to the router. Later on, when we tried the DHCP renew command, because the client didn't have any IP address, it shows up here as 0.0.0.0. Really, it's just the client who was sending the message. So it sent DHCP discover message on broadcast address 255.255.255.255, and because 192.168.1.1, which is the router, was acting as the DHCP server, it replied with a DHCP offer packet. the client, now knowing where the server is located, sent a DHCP request with the IP that was offered to it by the router. The router acknowledged the request, and the client got the new IP, 192.168.1.121. When we did the DHCP renew by itself without typing DHCP release before, the client knew where to send the DHCP request. It sent it straight away to 192.168.1.1. It didn't do like before where it had to send it to the broadcast address, because it didn't lose any of its IP configuration.